Welcome to the F1 in Schools project tutorial. My name is Phil Dolan. In this particular activity, we're going to be creating a new part file, sketching the profile of the model block, then creating the model block, adding the cartridge chamber, and creating the tether line slot. This is what the block will look like when we're finished. I've been checking the rows and the regulations to check that my dimensions are correct. So the overall size of the block, and then I've added the cartridge and the tether line slot. And in the browser, you'll see we have 3 extrusions to do that. I've opened up Autodesk Inventor. I'm going to close the My Home. Then I'm going to go to Projects. We've provided a project file. This manages where your files are stored. I browsed to the location and made it the active project, which you can see by the check mark. I'm going to start a new file. In templates, that's going to be metric and a standard metric part file. F1's an international contest, so that's why we're using metric. I'm just going to enlarge that window and get started on creating the part. You can see all the tools that are available to us. On all of these tabs, there are many tools which you'll use as you become more familiar with Autodesk Inventor. And our graphics screen, and then our view cube, which we'll use quite a bit. Start by creating a 2D sketch. Select the plane, and you can see the origin. That's 0, 0. Choose rectangle, and then drag that out. Enter the first value, 65, press Tab, 223 for my second value, enter, right-click, and OK, and that's a procedure you'll go through quite a lot. On the view cube, I clicked Top, and there I can see those dimensions. I can drag them away. It's not critical, they're just sketch dimensions. Let's finish that sketch, and then go out to the isometric so we can see all of the sketch. I'm going to save the file, always very important. Save every few minutes. I'll just name that My F1 Model Block. You may have different naming conventions. Save that. And we can see in the browser that that has now taken effect, and that one sketch we created is there, and all the work planes and axes that may be available to us later on. I want to extrude the sketch. There's a couple of dialog boxes up here. You can drag that up and down. You can actually do this quite effectively if the dimension is quite easy. I know that value is 50, and click OK. There it is, the start of the F1 block. Now if I click on Home, that's not quite the view that I want. So I'm going to press the F5 key on the keyboard. This is the one I want, so I can set that as my current view. Now when I press on Home, that's much better. That's easier to visualize. I zoomed out, press the F6 key, that's a shortcut, gets you back to the home view. You can see now the extrusion in the browser and the sketch that was used. Next thing I want to do is create the hole for the cartridge. I'm going to do that on the back face. It could have been on the front, but I'm just showing you different techniques. Zoom into that a little more. I created a 2D sketch on that face. I'm going to draw a circle. Defaults to radius. I'm given the diameter. I checked the regulations, and that should be 19 millimeters. Key in the value of 19. Enter, right-click, and OK, just as we did earlier on with the rectangle. I want to dimension this to place that circle correctly on that face. Again, checking the rules and regulations, that should be 29 millimeters. I need to center that, and one way of doing it is a dimension. I know the overall width is 65. Divide that by 2. There we go, 32.5. I'm just going to press E on the keyboard this time. I'm not going to finish my sketch, so just E on the keyboard quickly gets you to the extrusion tool. This time I want it to be a cut. And the depth of that, again checking the rules, 52. And there's the hole for the cartridge. That's a little difficult to see, so one option is to go to Shaded with Hidden Edges. That makes it a little easier to see. Now at the moment, to do the orbit, I'm holding down the F4 key, the function 4 key. And with an object such as this block, it's a little bit longer than it is in the terms of height and width. So sometimes it kind of spins around a little crazy. A little tip here is that you simply double click in the area that you want to pan around or do the orbit on. And this gets, as the objects get much longer, that's a good little tip. So just double click in that area. Next thing I want to do is create the hole for the tether line. Create a 2D sketch on that face. Again, back to rectangle. I'm just going to place the rectangle up in this area. 6 millimeters. Tab over, 6 again. Enter, right click, and OK. Now obviously I have to fix that rectangle in the correct location. I'm going to do that by using a vertical constraint. Center line on the rectangle, center line on the bottom edge, and then collinear. So by using geometric constraints, I didn't have to use dimensions. Again, E on the keyboard gets me to extrude. This time I want to, let me just drag that out the way first of all. What I want to do is go to the next face or body. That's the very end of the block. I also want it to be a cut. We can see that because I dragged that inside, in fact, or chose to next, it made it a cut automatically. There we are. There's the completed F1 model block. So 3 extrusions, the original block, the hole for the cartridge, and then the tether line slot. Always finish off by saving. I recommend you do this every 5 minutes or so. So in this lesson we created a new part file, sketched the profile of the block, created the block, then the cartridge chamber, and the tether line slot.